This is Johnny, the chubby, Caucasian, Christian, closeted conservative. Some might say I'm everything wrong with the world, but don't take their word for it. Make up your own mind. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. Now, in my previous episode, we left off with Kamala Harris in March. She had just received the assignment for the border. Joe Biden had his huge, big press conference, and we discussed a little bit about her possible frustrations with her new assignment. I'd like to get into that, but first, I just can't get over these Fauci files, man. I've been reading about a handful a day as I, sit on the toilet or lay in bed. Please try to remember again, I have a full-time job, wife and kid. I can't just sit down and, read 3,000 emails in a few days. However, I have come across something very interesting, and I believe I heard other individuals speaking about this. But discovering it and seeing it with my own eyes has really given me a deeper understanding and perspective of this whole Dr. Fauci thing, especially this whole muzzling concept, this idea that Donald Trump censored him and told him what to say and that the facts were not allowed out to the public because of Donald Trump. So I'd like to play you two clips from January 2021 where Dr. Fauci kind of gives this impression that things are a little bit different under the Biden administration. And then I found two emails that kind of contradict this concept that he gives. However, I think both sides of the media have blown this out of proportion, and I'd like to give you my opinion on what actually is happening here. So this is a White House press conference, a White House COVID press conference on January 21st, 2021. So Joe Biden is president, we have vaccines, and Fauci is asked a question. Well, here's the question and response.
You've joked a couple times today already about the difference that you feel in being kind of the spokesperson for this issue in this administration versus the previous one. Can you talk a little bit about how much different do you feel, less constrained? What is you for so many times you stood up behind the podium with Donald Trump standing behind you. That was a different feeling, I'm sure, than it is today. Can you talk a little bit about how you feel kind of released from what you had been doing for the last year?
Yeah, but you said I was joking about it. I was very serious about it. I wasn't joking. No, actually, I mean, obviously, I don't want to be going back, over history, but it was very clear that there were things that were said, be it regarding things like hydroxychloroquine and other things like that, that really was uncomfortable because they were not based on scientific fact. I can tell you, I take no pleasure at all in being in a situation of contradicting the president. So it was really something that you didn't feel that you could actually say something and there wouldn't be any repercussions about it. The idea that you can get up here and talk about what you know, what the evidence, what the science is, and know that's it. Let the science speak. It is somewhat of a liberating feeling. I mean, you were
basically banished for a few months there for a while. You feel like you're back now?
I think so. Okay.
That is what I heard from that. Dr. Fauci has a new job. He's got a new boss. And all he's doing is kissing butt. I don't know if anybody out there is a fan of The Office, but this almost reminds me when the Stamford, Connecticut, and Scranton branch merge. Andrew Bernard goes to Dunder Mifflin Scranton, and he just sucks up to Michael and kisses his butt so much. Part of me understands Dr. Fauci here. You have a new job. You want to make a good impression. You want to suck up. You want to keep your job. But there are some emails that contradict what he's saying here. Now, before I read you the emails, I'd like to play you one other clip. This is a longer clip. This was from the day after this press conference, January 22nd, and this is on CNN.
So the White House released its new coronavirus strategy yesterday, and they came out with this 21-page summary of it. And the number one thing, the number one goal of the new Biden White House in terms of battling the pandemic is to restore trust with the American people. Why is it necessary to say that?
Well, I think that was really good making that number one, because what we've had, John, there's no secret. We've had a lot of divisiveness. We've had facts that were very, very clear, that were questioned. People were not trusting what health officials were saying. There was great divisiveness. Masking became a political issue. So what the president was saying right from the get-go, let's reset this. Let's everybody get on the same page, trust each other, let the science speak. And he said that multiple times, not only before the cameras. He said it to us in the meeting that we had in the White House yesterday, right before I went into the press conference. Just that. It's got to be science is driving what we're doing. John, that's what I've been saying with you every time I've been on the program here. If we can do that, get people to trust in each other, that we're all in this together. Forget the divisiveness. We have a serious opponent here. The president made the analogy of a war. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers, over 400,000 people dead, that's quite comparable to World War II. I mean, that's the reason why we've really got to restore trust and restore a unified approach.
Did the lack of candor, did the lack of facts in some cases over the last year cost lives?
It very likely did. I don't want that, John, to be a soundbite, but I think if you just look at that, you could see that when you're starting to go down paths that are not based on any science at all, and we've been there before, I don't want to rehash it, that is not helpful at all. And particularly when you're in the situation of almost being in a crisis with the number of cases and hospitalizations and deaths that we have, when you start talking about things that make no sense medically and no sense scientifically, that clearly is not helpful.
Now, before we even break down this whole muzzling thing, there's one clip. Dr. Fauci says one thing in that last clip that I want to point out to you. He talks about how the misinformation or miscommunication or him being muzzled might have cost lives.
It very likely did. I don't want that, John, to be a soundbite.
And after all the research I did for my episode on Dr. Fauci, when I heard that, I feel like I'm a little bit in this guy's head. I found out a little bit more of what makes Dr. Fauci tick, what he thinks of, what's important to him. And the man is not a stupid man. He's not stupid, especially after reading the emails. I feel like he chooses his words very wisely. And again, like I said in my episode on Dr. Fauci, I don't want him canceled. I want to hear his opinion. I don't agree with his political views, but I want to hear his medical opinion. He is a doctor. He knows a lot more than I do about medicine and medical science. But it's very difficult for me to believe that Dr. Fauci did not want this to be a soundbite. Maybe he didn't want it. But the fact that he said, I don't want this to be a soundbite right after he said it, gives me the impression that he knew it would be used as a soundbite. And he should have had, like I said, he's a very smart man. He was on CNN. He got asked a question or two in the press conference the day before about his relationship with his new boss and his old boss. He should have seen this coming from a mile away. And I'm sure his relationship with his old boss and new boss were very different. I've had jobs where my boss has turned over and things were different. Not saying they were better or worse. I'm trying to be... I'm trying not to throw any hard punches at Joe Biden right now. I am sure, well, from what I've seen, too, hopefully we all can agree that their leadership types are, maybe just a little bit different. So he should have seen these questions coming a mile away. What is different between your new boss and old boss? Then when he made the comment about how he might have been censored or muzzled before, and then goes on CNN, which, can we all admit, might be a little biased? Is that common ground? He should have seen a question coming that specifically narrowed down the differences between Biden and Trump. And the best thing for him to do at that moment to save face, knowing that these emails were out there and might one day be published, was to just say, it's different. I like the direction we're headed in, and we need to get the pandemic under control. I think Dr. Fauci was a little upset because he was running the show, and then Mike Pence was kind of put in charge of it, and he felt like he was taking a back seat, and he threw a little hissy fit about it. Before I get too much more into this, I want to read you two emails. One email is from March 1st of 2020. This individual named Thomas Murray, and a lot of his information is redacted, so I'm not 100% sure who he is. But he emails Dr. Fauci. His first couple lines, he's just, hi, how are you, whatever. And then he says, the news media is reporting that the White House has muzzled you. Is that true? Before entering the science engineering world, I was a newspaper city editor in South Carolina. This was in the 1970s. Therefore, I get and understand idea of coordinated messages. Plus, due to my media background, Boeing used me to help executives prepare for media engagements and challenging topics. However, if it is true that you are muzzled, then I will initiate a campaign, he puts that in quotes, with my congressional representatives and the media to stop that action. However, before I initiate such a campaign, will my actions possibly cause you harm? I recognize that you may have back channels that I may disrupt by engaging. As I related previously, I trust you since you focus on the facts and data and provide context for the information that you share, and you avoid emotion in your engagement. I think that the residents of the U.S. land, frankly the world, need your insight regarding COVID-19. Plus, you're one of the world leaders with regarding to infectious disease. He then asks, please let me know if I should stay silent or become nosy, and then the common thank you for everything that you're doing. Here is Dr. Fauci's response. Mr. Murray, and I'm going to read the whole email here. Thanks for the note. Please stay silent since I have not been muzzled. I will be on multiple TV shows tomorrow and was on Fox this AM. No one is censoring me. Best regards, Tony. The day after, March 2nd, 2020, he receives an email from a Mark Shalomik. He is from the Biomedical Science Tower in Pittsburgh. And he writes Fauci, Dear Fauci, is this information in the article true? And he copy and paste a Business Insider link to an article that I had difficulty finding. If it is, I think that in the interest of public health and the integrity of science in the U.S., you must not acquiesce, but instead resign and speak out. If it is not true, then please refute it and set the record straight. I absolutely love this email from this doctor. This is an email that I would send. If you're in trouble, you need to resign and tell people you're in trouble. And if you're not, then you need to go out and say, hey, I'm not in trouble. Dr. Fauci replies, the story is not true. I am not being muzzled or censored. So the question that I have, if I had Dr. Fauci in front of me right now, the first question I would ask is, within the course of 10 months, did something change between you and Donald Trump besides Mike Pence being put in charge? Now, if you're going to be a little butthurt because Donald Trump put Mike Pence in charge, then that's your own problem. You're going to have to go to counseling or something and figure that out on your own. However, to hold this press conference and go on CNN the day after and talk about how you were somewhat censored, or at least hint at that you were censored, is very manipulative. It's very manipulative. And my question is, if nothing changed, so I would ask him that question, did something change besides the whole Mike Pence thing? And I got a feeling very little changed. I mean, there were times when him and Donald Trump were up at the White House giving press conferences, and they did kind of conflict. Donald Trump was asking him questions live in front of people, and Dr. Fauci was answering them. Unless something changed, my second question would be, so were you lying then, or are you lying now? Maybe lying is too strong of a word. Were you only telling half the story then, or were you telling half the story now? Were you worried? Another thing I would love to hear him say is maybe he was a little worried about telling someone that he was being muzzled in his emails. We all got copies of them. This is a government email address. I had a job previously and currently have a job where I dealt with a lot of personal private information. A few medical records here and there, a social security number here and there, stuff like that. And they do check our emails, and they tell us that they check our emails. So I do watch a little bit of what I say. But if my boss was censoring me and I wanted to tell somebody, but I was worried that my boss might read the email or hear about this email from someone else and I would lose my job, I would have reached out to these two individuals. Now, like I said, Mr. Murray, a lot of his information is redacted. I'm not really sure what Dr. Fauci could or could not see. I can't even see his email address. There's no phone number or anything like that. However, Mark Shalomic, he has his address listed, the address of his practice. It's University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. And he has his phone and fax and several other email addresses, which look like they're through his school. It would have been very easy for Dr. Fauci to get in contact with this individual and maybe ask for help if he was getting muzzled. Now, if you're liberal Larry or liberal Linda out there, I hope that we can find common ground, that something is a little shady here, that these two stories do not match up. And if nothing changed over 10 months, that we really need to question what Dr. Fauci was saying in March of 2020 or what he was saying in January of 2021, because there is some contradiction. Maybe you want to argue that during the press conference at the White House and the CNN interview, he did not use the word muzzled. And you can't see the contradictions. And you are a Donald Trump police hating, radical, communist, socialist, liberal, Larry or Linda, I am going to laugh you out of the room. Because between the years of 2016 and 2020 have woken up every morning for those 4 years with Trumpitis. They have woken up every morning with a hate for this man, and they've grasped at straws. Now, some of them are legitimate, that I'm willing to have conversations about, but there have been so many leaps and bounds and connections that I feel like I have a stronger argument here than some of these other Donald Trump tinfoil hat theories just by playing you 4 minutes of interview clips and reading you 2 emails. There is a clash here. There is a contradiction. I got a feeling he was under a little more pressure under Donald Trump's administration than he is Joe Biden's. I never really saw him joke around when doing a press conference for or with Donald Trump. But to kind of go from this advisor, this medical advisor, to judge, jury, and executioner, everything COVID related. And I think that type of power went to his head. Now, to balance this, to have a check and balance, I'm going to go back to what I've said a lot about Dr. Fauci. A second opinion. If there was another doctor standing up there next to him who could refute or collaborate Dr. Fauci's statements, this would have been the perfect method of checks and balance. I'm going to encourage everyone to go on this ride with me. You can Google the Dr. Fauci emails and you can download them in PDF and then you can read them. Like I said, there's over 3,000 pages of emails. So I have been snipping and screenshotting these emails and posting them on my Facebook. I do it just about every day. I call it the Fauci Files at 5. So you can either go to Google or you can go to Facebook and search the chubby Caucasian Christian closeted conservative. On Google, I believe my Facebook is number 3 or 4. You click on that and you can go right to my Facebook. While you're there, just hit that little follow button. You'll get all my updates for the Fauci Files at 5. Now, most people are going to scam you into trying to scroll all through their news feed. I did at one point post the actual link for the Fauci emails on my Facebook. So if you did want to actually find that link and you're too lazy to Google it yourself, you can go to my Facebook and scroll all the way down to the bottom. However, if you're looking for a specific email, I've made it really easy for you. I've uploaded every email as a photo. So all you have to do is go to my Facebook, the Chubby Caucasian Christian Closeted Conservative, and go to my photos. And there you'll see all of the emails. You can just open up my photos. If you're on a mobile device, you can swipe and keep going and read all of them. Or if you are on a desktop or laptop, you should be able to click the little arrow buttons on the side to scroll through all the emails. And I've made it really easy for you guys. I want to chew the fat about Kamala Harris and the border. So if you remember from my previous episode, we had left Kamala Harris in March, still under the bus that Joe Biden threw her under. Joe Biden had this huge press conference coming up. He needed an excuse for the border, and Kamala Harris was it. Now, in case you forgot what she said, the day she was given the task, March 25th, this was her response to Joe Biden putting her in charge of the border.
While we are clear that people should not come to the border now, we also understand that we will enforce the law, and that we also, because we can chew gum and walk at the same time, must address the root causes that cause people to make the trek, as the president has described, to come here. And I look forward to engaging in diplomacy.
We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We're going to try to enforce the laws that we already have at the border, and we're going to go talk to our neighbors to the south to try to find a solution to the problem. This whole clip of March 25th, there's two things I have to say about it. One is Kamala Harris and Joe Biden talked about two different sides of the problem, that the laws at the border are not being enforced and that we need to find the root causes of the issue. And hopefully something that everybody can find common ground on is that the left and the right heard two different things here. The right heard, the Republicans heard, we're going to enforce the laws at the border. The left heard, we're going to find the root causes in South America and try to help them and prevent them from coming to here. Now, what I heard was we can walk and chew gum at the same time. But let me put this in an analogy for you. I am a homeowner. It's not a big home. It's a small house. But I've had leaky pipes here and there. I've had water problems. It's just an older, smaller house. There's a lot of wear and tear on it. Now, when I've had these water issues, initial thought is not call a plumber initially and go, hey, I'm standing about 3 feet of water here and I got a pipe busted. Do you think you could tell me what the root causes are? No. I go to my main water line and I turn it off. That's the first step I do because I don't want any more water in the house. I go to my main water line and I turn it off. Then I have to get in touch with a plumber. I don't worry about root causes until after I have stopped the major part of the problem. Because a plumber might not be able to come today. He might not be able to come within the next hour. I might have to wait a week or so for a plumber to come. And I can't sit here for a week allowing water to build up. I can't do it. So I have to go and I shut off the water valve. And then the plumber comes out. And then we can have discussions with the plumber about why this happened. The plumber might say, hey, John, your pipes are going bad here. You got to get them all replaced. All the pipes are going bad. Or he might say, you got to keep the temperature in your house a little higher so that the water doesn't freeze in the pipes and make them burst. So, common ground. Kamala Harris said, walk and chew gum. She said, root causes and enforce laws already. Now, this next clip I'm going to play, it's April 25th. So, exactly a month after she's been thrown under the bus by Joe Biden for the whole border issue. This clip makes my blood boil. This is from a CNN interview that Kamala Harris is giving. And she's asked about when she's going to go to the border. And seeing the bigger picture of how the whole border Kamala Harris going to visit thing worked out, this clip, when she said this on CNN, makes... and someone call me out on this if I'm wrong. I don't see how this wasn't a lie on her part. This is a bold face lie on her end. This is her knowing what she's going to do within the next couple of weeks and then saying this comment.
Are you going to go there?
In that regard, it is, yes, we're working on the plan to get there. We have to deal with COVID issues, but I can't get there soon enough in terms of personally getting there.
Now, to keep this in context, she was asked about the U.S.-Mexico border. She wasn't asked about Guatemala or any other South American country. She was specifically, in that question, she was specifically asked about the border. And she said, I can't get there soon enough. This was April 25th, 2021. She wouldn't go to the border till a little over 2 months after she was asked this question. Now, my next clip, and this is my final clip, this is where I'm going to leave it at, and we're going to come back to this again, is an interview that she did with Lester Holt when she was in Guatemala. This was on June, well, it was released to us on June 8th. During this interview, she was in Guatemala. We had no knowledge of any plans to go to the border at any time. And Lester Holt asked her a question about the border. And I'm going to play the whole thing in context for you right here.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
I'm here in Guatemala today. At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Now, this question and Kamala Harris's response, I really like this. I think it says a lot about Kamala Harris. First is, I think Kamala Harris has a huge tell. I think she laughs when she doesn't know what to say or she feels uncomfortable. She begins to giggle and laugh. And the fact that this question, the border has been an issue now in the media for 2 months. I'm sure she's healed from the bus that Joe Biden drove her over with. And the fact that she can't give a professional political answer for this question about when you're going to go to the border really makes me think, when she was first getting into politics, what type of questions was she asked? Because this doesn't really seem to be that difficult of a question. Lester Holt first asked, do you have any plans to visit the border? And her response is, I'm here in Guatemala today. She should have tried to stop it there. The border's our priority. We're working on root causes. I said walk and chew gum. I decided to call the plumber before I shut the water off to the house. But she goes on to say, we're going to the border. We've been to the border. We've been to the border. We've been to the border. She said we've been to the border 3 times before Lester Holt interrupts her. And part of me thinks that I think she was trying to lie here. I think she was shocked that she was asked a hardball question that really doesn't happen with Joe and Kamala. And these giggles and laughs, it's almost like some sort of coping mechanism with her. I really believe it's a tell. When she feels backed into a corner, when she feels annoyed or uncomfortable, she tries to find a way to make a joke out of it, to make light out of it. And I think that says a lot about Democrats as a whole and possibly the incompetence that Kamala Harris has for this job, and specifically important issues like the border. And I know how this is going to sound coming out of a chubby Caucasian Christian closeted conservative's mouth, but how did she get here? This question from Lester Holt, that seems like when you're going into this interview after you've been in Guatemala all day and people are talking about the border all over the place, you grab Joe's little card and you write down your own answers. This should have been this shouldn't have even been, she shouldn't even have had to think about this. There's so much more that I want to get to about this Kamala Harris and the border thing. So there's 3 or 4 other clips, and we haven't even cut the fat and gotten right to the facts about what's actually happened down there, how many people are coming over, the drugs and the guns that are coming over. So unless something crazy happens between now and my next episode, I will probably discuss Kamala Harris and the border again. I mean, we haven't even gotten to when she actually goes to the border and the reasons behind it. I think she was played again, unfortunately. After months of just avoiding the border, suddenly a Friday just opens up and she's able to go. But I'd like to save that and go into depth for my next episode. Please look me up on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also ask your Alexa to play the Chubby Caucasian Christian Closeted Conservative podcast on my Anchor account. This is pretty cool. You can go to my Anchor account and leave me a verbal message. Unfortunately, it can't be over a minute long, but go on there if you want to comment, if you have something to offer, if you want to come on my show, if you want to be a part of this, go on my Anchor account, leave me a message me on Facebook. You can also Google me. Google the Chubby Caucasian Christian Closeted Conservative, and you look for my eagle. I had a family member of mine, she painted that eagle, and I love that eagle so much that she actually gave me the original. She's very talented. She has a Redbubble account. Her name is Robin N. Brown on Redbubble. It's also going to be listed in the description, but go to Redbubble, look up Robin N. Brown. She just painted another beautiful eagle that's carrying the American flag. It's very, very cool. I'm debating offering her money for the original for that one as well. So you need to get over there and check it out before I get my hands on that one as well. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, and comment. And until next time, we will see you later.